Hello and welcome to the FastReport Academy. Today I will show you how to create a cube entirely from code. This video is an adaptation of an article, and if you want to copy some code that I'm using today, a link to the article is in the description. So let's start. I've created an empty Windows Forms project. First thing we need to do is to add references to the FastCube libraries: FastReport, FastReport bars, and FastReport OLAP. And now, the controls that we will use in our application. The order in which we add the controls doesn't matter, but this more or less represents their hierarchy. So let's add them. DT dataset, data source, cube, slice, and the visual controls, slice, grid, and a button. So, the idea behind the application we're making is we generate random data and then build a cube from that data. The data can come from, for example, a database, but for the simplicity, we won't connect to any external sources. So let's continue. DT dataset will be filled with the random data, so we don't need to set it up. Data source should receive its data from the DT dataset. Then, the data source should be the source of data for the cube. And don't forget to set the source type to data source. And finally, the slice should get its data from the cube. And slice grid should display the resulting slice. And now let's continue to the interesting part, the code. If your Visual Studio has added these libraries to the using section automatically, you only need to add FastReport OLAP slice. Next, there's a bunch of variables and a function that generates a data table with randomized data. So, now we need a function that does all the remaining work, and we'll look at this one in more detail. Let's create a button click event handler and paste the code into it. So, this section fills the dataset with the data we generated. Then, we're starting to update the slice with the new properties. Here, we're adding the fields into the slice's y-axis. Then, an empty container for the measures onto the x-axis. And finally, we're adding the measures into that container. Here's a signature of the measure field class, so you can see what we're doing here more obviously. And now, it's the end of the slice's update process. After that, we can save the cube into a file or not. Let's execute the application and press the button. And here's our cube. Now, let's also add a cube grid, so we can see the base data. And connect it to our cube. We can regenerate the data several times to see it update. And according to our generation settings, there are 4 dimensions, 4 measures, and 10,000 entries. So, this should give you a basic idea on how you can work with FastCube from code. This was today's lesson on FastCube. If you have any questions or suggestions, leave them in the comments. And be sure to check out other videos on the channel. We have more videos about FastCube and FastReport.net, and links to the playlists are in the description.